Well, good morning everybody and welcome back to the Building Investors YouTube channel. We're going to be doing some welding today, as we talked about a lot in the last video. So I went and picked up the cheapest welder in town, which is the Harbor Freight MIG welder here, the Flux 125 titanium welder. Nothing fancy, doesn't use any gas or anything. I'm not a welder. I've welded some in the past, but nothing to say that I know what I'm talking about. So I picked up that and I picked up the appropriate wire for it, I think. So we got 0.030, whatever that gauge is, wire, flux core, and I picked up a welding magnet, which is one of those things to hold it steady while I weld. May not even use that. And then I picked up a cheap welding mask, the cheapest auto darkening one I could find. So one day we'll upgrade these things to nicer things, but for now I don't need to spend $1,000 on that when I can spend $234 and some change. So anyways, I'm gonna unbox this, get the wire fed through it, hopefully get the mask unboxed, and then get the welder out, or get the generator out to plug the welder into, and hopefully it all works seamlessly, and then we can weld on the frame right there. So anyways, let's get to it. Getting everything unboxed that you saw me doing over there, I moved it over here and assembled it again to make sure it works, of course. And then I have started practicing. Hey, stop digging holes. This wing right here, of course, this ear, whatever you call it. So these were cut off, as you saw in the video before, and ground off the weld and stuff. So what I've done is I reclamped it up here, I re-welded it around there. Can't really see my welds to prove if I'm a good or bad welder, because I've done some grinding to clean up for the next weld. But this ear, of course, is headed down this way a bit, so I need it to come this way, and the reason is because we got to cut off some material to put it on there. So instead of cutting the top and shortening it to make it go back up like this, I'm going to keep the same distance on the ears out here, but then I'm going to raise this up like so, and then I'm going to take a piece of scrap and weld it down here, raise it up and weld it to keep it the same width, and then also make it level. So this is a piece that I used to cut off the frame on that side, I believe. So I'm probably going to take a piece of this, just a little chunk, and weld a tab on here to keep this jacked up, and then I'll maybe come back and do some more welding later on if I feel it's necessary. But let's go over the setup here. We've got a generator. Sorry, took my brain fart there. Got a generator. I got this for free from a guy. He was cleaning out his garage. He says, I just don't ever use it. I don't need it. I said, are you sure? It's pretty new. He says, yeah, I just don't want it. I said, okay, I'll take it. So he gave it to me. It's probably the newest you can get without buying it new. Like, it's maybe ran, like the exhaust wasn't even slightly warm, like the exhaust would be where it burned when it ran for a long time. So like even now, I've ran it for maybe an hour and it's barely charcoaled there. But anyway, so it's brand new. It has a flat tire, but that's not a big deal. So I put some gas in it, started right up. So that was handy. So I took that and connected my new welder to it. And I was using the cordless grinder, but I was going through batteries like crazy. And so I hooked up my corded one and ground off a few things and then tested it, try to get it to set the settings where I thought it should be. This one is the how much like melting force power there is. You welders out there can tell me exactly voltage, whatever you want to say right here. And then the feed for the wire, how fast it feeds. So it's a pretty simple machine. So I was getting that dialed in to try to get my welds. I practiced on these. There used to be a cut down the middle of these when I cut those off. So I practiced on these, did some grinding, welded some more. So I get the heat correct and the wire feed correct. So just in case you're wondering what settings I'm doing FN7. That's what settings I'm doing. It sounds bad, doesn't it? Anyways, so I got the wire put in there, fed through here, and there's a little feed button right there. So you can feed it through the gun, and a little tension right here. Pretty simple machine. On switch on the back. And so plugged it in, did some test welding, welded that top piece in, and now I can grind the areas I'm going to weld on the next sections. So I need to do a little more grinding. And weld it up. Also, there's a ground over there that I forgot to mention. So I'll just ground off to clean bare metal there, put the ground on. That's it. And then the mask is this, like I said, the cheap darkening mask, self-darkening mask. Nothing fancy, but my eyes do hurt a little bit from welding just that tiny bit, so I'm concerned that it's not dark enough. But we will see. I'll do a little more welding, keep an eye on my eyes. So anywho, let's do some grinding and some more welding. Okay, well, I got a lot of practice to do, and I'm welding in pants that should not be welded in. But let me bring you up close so you can criticize the welds. Okay, like I said, we had to level it a bit. Oh, hey, watch it. So we had to bring that up a little tiny bit. It's still a little bit low, but we'll tweak it when we put the floor on. The floor will be the strong part. This one's a little bit low as well. So we will do some more welding, but this is nice. This will temporarily hold it. So it looks a lot like bird poop, but when I knocked on it with a hammer, it wouldn't fall off. So that's good. So anywho, first weld of my life with my own welder. Ta-da. So anyways, I'm not gonna do that to the rest of it. So I'm gonna give it some thought real quick before I video to the next thing. Pretty cool, isn't it? We put something back on that we took off. Anyways, next video. Whew. Welding with that generator sure makes things a little bit noisier. And the welds definitely aren't safe. If I were to weld something and depend my life on it, I don't think I would depend my life on my welds. But that's what we got out of what we're doing. So we'll do a little bit of grinding, but it'll hold for what we need it to. So now that we've got that welded, we're gonna have to do a little, try to either tweak this over with the strap on the bottom like we did on the top. Careful, that's hot, bud. Or we'll patch in a piece. So we'll put our level on there and see. But let's go ahead and weld this in the ear, and I'll bring you back to see the end product. Well guys, that ended up being way funner than I was expecting it to be. In the beginning, I wasn't quite as happy, but oh man, getting into it and welding, it sure is actually kind of fun, just sitting there moving that little thing back and forth, making the puddles nice. As you could tell by the end, I was getting a little bit neater on my welds, but overall, nothing is super nice. And I might actually come back and fix some of these. Like you can tell, that one's not even in there. So you can say all you want to in the comments, but it doesn't matter because it's not your house, right? So as you can tell, like here, that's a pretty good puddle, I think. That one, not so much. So, but it is nice and strong, and truthfully, it's not completely necessary to hold the house because the floor joists are actually going to be supporting the weight. This is just kind of for cosmetic, and I wanted to make it the way it was uniformly for my own sake. It does help some structurally, but truthfully, not a big deal. So, got that welded on. Now we can do the final clean and paint of the chassis, which will be the next video. But anywho, that was a blast. A little noisy. I wish I didn't have to have the noise of that. Maybe get a quieter generator or some electric hooked up soon. That would be wonderful. The welder actually did fine. I'm not nothing to say bad about that. I think once I get it tuned in, we will be welding like champs. Well, maybe not like champs, but better. So same thing here, just did the spacers. Looks pretty good. So I lined everything up as best I could. Of course, there'll be a little bit tweaking once I get it all finished, and everything's leveled and looks nice. So not too shabby. Used a strap there to pull the frame back together for the 80 inches that I needed to match the rest of the frame. So everything is what it is. What do you think? I am pretty stoked with how it's turned out, and I cannot wait to actually get onto the building of this tiny house, like the floor and the walls. Copper, get dust. You're just so dirty. Copper's over here just rolling in the dust. Someone needs a sprinkler system, don't they? Anyways, hope you enjoyed watching, and I can't wait to share with you the next steps. But there is the welding. Man, it was fun. Anyways, have a good one. God bless.